Good morning, my loves. Sick and tired here, and today we are going to be reading more viewer submissions. We also have a post that I found on Reddit that when I read it, oh my God, is that why it's called that? It unlocked a memory about my mom that I had completely forgotten about. So I will be reading their story and then I will kind of tell you about mine. I couldn't believe that I found somebody whose mom made them do this specific thing. And now growing up and realizing, oh, yeah, that kind of was a child abuse. I think it was. I don't know. Maybe not. You guys tell me. That will be at the end of the video because we are going to read your guys' submissions first. So get your coffee, get your tea, your cocktails, whatever you like, and get comfortable. Hi, Samantha. I love your channel and commentary. I thought I'd share a few stories with you. When I was pregnant with my first son, my family was very curious about what name I would pick for him. I told them I was keeping it a surprise because I knew that they would just mock any name I chose. After I had already told them a few names and endured their teasing, this angered my mom so much. She called me one night and yelled at me, saying that she deserved to know the name because it was her grandchild. After she yelled for a while, I asked, well, if I told you the name now, would you feel better? She said, no. Okay. After my son was born, as a new mother, I decided not to give him any pacifiers. I was really focused on trying to breastfeed him successfully as he had issues and trouble gaining weight in the early months. My mom offered to help me watch him one afternoon. Knowing my rule about pacifiers, she bought some from the store and hid them in her purse. Wow. When I went to shower, she pulled them out and gave my son a pacifier. Oh my gosh. Grandmothers know best, right? Do any of you have the issue with your moms calling your children their children? My mom has accidentally slipped up and actually referred to me as grandma to my daughter. Like, go ask your grandma. I mean, mom. Like, what? It is not your child. When I woke up, she hid it back in her purse. The reason I know about this is because my little sister was there and told me what happened. I will never forget that she did that. After one of my boyfriends broke up with me in college, I called my mom crying. She said, maybe he broke up with you because you're too sensitive. One of the last trips I went to visit my family, I caught a disturbing conversation. My kids were 12, 10, and 6 at the time. I stepped away briefly to use the restroom. While I was walking back down the hallway, I could hear just around the corner my mom and sister trying to convince my kids to drink some alcohol. What? I heard them say, just take a sip. They stopped when they saw me. I am lucky that my kids felt weird and declined the drinks. What? Let me know if you want other stories. Yeah, I have more. With love, Caitlin. Oh my, Caitlin. Yes, we want more stories, please. Hey there, my name's Saffron. Ooh, excuse me for saying this, but that's so sexy. I love your channel and your name, Sick and Tired. Oh, well, thanks. I love your name too. So relatable. There seems to be an interesting link between chronic pain and childhood trauma, but that's not what I'm here to discuss. Really? Is that true? Because now I'm kind of interested. It's hard to know where to start, but let's see. My mother has always been severely mentally ill, bipolar, and I recently figured out that she's very probably a narcissist like my grandmother. Though my grandmother hides it a lot better, so it took me over 20 years to fully realize that my gran is mostly playing a part of sweet old lady and she loves to play the victim. She's always been super manipulative, but it took me a long time to realize. I saw her mask slip and things haven't been the same. I started sticking up for myself. Me and my gran had a bad argument over me saying no thank you to my mother after she offered to cook me a roast dinner for the weekend. I made sure to be careful when replying to my mother because at that point in my life, only 3 years ago, my mother's feelings always came first. I knew to prioritize my mother's feelings in all situations. That's how I learned to survive. Well, after my mother left, my gran said I should use more etiquette because she could tell my mother was hurt by me not accepting her dinner. And I got both frustrated and very hurt because I always tried my absolute best to appease my mother with my replies, and it clearly wasn't good enough. I tried to tell her I was hurt by her comment. I thought she would just apologize and we could move on, but she didn't care. She just got really defensive. She said a lot of hurtful things to me, like I always play the victim, which is so ironic because that's what she does. She said that other people's children were harder. My mother would say that a lot to my brother and I growing up. I should be glad I wasn't beaten. She was by her mother as a child and any therapy and should basically just get over it. I'm not gonna lie and say I didn't say anything hurtful to her because I absolutely lost all composure and got so angry and upset. She actually made fun of me for it. I told her that she's the reason that my mother is how she is and that people were right about her. The funny thing is, when I mentioned people, I meant my mother. The other funny part is she later apologized to me via text. She said she was sorry that I had to hear people say bad things about her. Another quick thing, only recently did I fully realize how screwed up this is, but my grandmother loves to comment on my body. She'll comment not only on my weight, but my boobs and ass in front of my brother. Ew. I called her out on it in a calm manner, asked her not to comment on my body. I'm your granddaughter and it's weird, etc. And she tried to tell me not to ruin Christmas? What? I just don't understand how their brains work.
I'm going to talk about your boobs and your butt.
Can you not do that?
Stop ruining Christmas. What?
They have lost their damn minds. I have a lot of other stories. Thank you so much for creating a safe space for all of us to share. You seem like such a strong and beautiful person. Well, I don't know about that. Thank you for sharing my story. You are welcome. And just like I said to the last poster, please, yes, we'd love to hear more. We always want to hear. We are always listening. Hello, Samantha. I like how it's like, boom. Hello, Samantha. I recently discovered your videos and deeply appreciate the content you share. I endured years of emotional torture from my narcissistic parents. As a scapegoat, I was subjected to constant lies and manipulation as well as constant familial bullying. A significant betrayal involved the concealment of my biological father's identity, leading to confusion and isolation within my own family. Interesting. My stepfather, aware of my origins, used this to fuel his abuse, subjecting me to bullying, ridicule, and terrifying acts of cruelty, including locking me in dark closets and outside at night. Oh my gosh, that sounds terrifying. I'm so scared of the dark. My mother, despite knowing of potential child predators, would leave me in their presence and even offered disturbing advice about avoiding their affection.
Don't be too nice or they will like you.
I was 10 years old.
Don't wear that because you're just inviting that bad behavior. That's on you.
The culmination of this abuse led to a severe mental health crisis following an organ removal surgery. My defense against their relentless devaluation triggered a vicious smear campaign, alienating me from my own siblings who cruelly disowned me. Since separating from my family, I've sought professional help through trauma therapy. My therapist confirmed that my experiences constituted severe emotional torture. I have since been diagnosed with both borderline personality disorder and post-traumatic stress disorder, and I currently reside in Hawaii with my 2 babies who are very much loved and treated so much differently than I was. Ooh, Hawaii. I would be honored to share my story in more detail, especially for narc abuse survivors who may be traversing parenthood with trauma as I am. Kindest regards, Shyla Grooms. Wow, you speak so eloquently. And I nailed that too. At least I think I did. Again, yes, please share your guys' stories. And I'm really interested in the beginning where you said that a betrayal involving the concealment of your biological father. I must know more. Hello, I want to start out saying that finding your channel has really helped me find a sense of community during my healing as a survivor of childhood abuse. My mother was telling me I was fat as early as kindergarten. Oh, that's so young. And would make me feel like I had to keep her happy at all times. I have many stories regarding my narcissistic abusive mother, but this one is one of my most prominent. Trigger warning for physical abuse and animal abuse. I'm not sure exactly how old I was, but I remember being in the 3rd grade and not even double digits yet. I was going through a lying phase, or that is what my mom said at the time, and she would lose her shit when it came to lies. This amuses me now as I realized how much that woman lied throughout her life. I remember her asking something regarding my teacher and homework assignment, and she said,
"You had better be telling the truth."
The next morning, a Sunday, she came in and started yelling at me and spanking me. Her reason being she spoke to my teacher and knew I was lying. She told me to get into bed and stay there. She would come in every few minutes yelling and would keep hitting me. At one point, I had been laying in the bed for a while and had not even had a chance to use the bathroom or eat. I was not allowed to get out of bed and I ended up wetting myself. Oh my gosh. My mother came in again and noticed, so she began spanking me for peeing in my own bed. She kept doing this and at one point came in and announced that she fed my guinea pig to their python. This makes me infuriated. How could you hurt something so innocent and defenseless? just like children, babies, animals. This to me means that this is a very dangerous person because hurting something so defenseless and innocent that can't fight back, I think that means that you're an evil person. It reminds me of when the one guy that we saw on Twitter was kicking around his robot and his friends were kicking around the robot. And people were saying, oh, this makes me sad. And other people were like, why? It's just a robot. Because it's that they're comfortable with doing it. My first thought wouldn't be to beat it up or kick it or mess with it. It would be to just marvel at what it's capable of. So yeah, this to me is a person who's evil. There is no other word to describe you if you're going to hurt an innocent, defenseless animal or child. She also proceeded to continue disciplining me until my stepdad stood in the doorway of my room and told her she needed to stop. I vividly remember her saying, I want more excuses to beat her. I laid in my own urine-soaked sheets. I was crying so bad I was hyperventilating, shaking and terrified. My heart was broken because she killed my pet and was threatening to sell the puppy they got me a few months prior because I had not fed her yet that day. I wasn't even allowed to leave my bed, let alone take care of my pets. Thankfully, she never got rid of my dog. I believed it was all my fault, and I was a terrible person to make her act like that towards me. That's because they say stuff like that, like,
look what you made me do. This is your fault. You made me do this.
No. You are responsible for your actions. The next day I came out of my room and she acted as if nothing ever happened. I remember her sitting at the table smoking a cigarette and smiling at me sweetly. It was scary because I wasn't sure what to expect. She gave me breakfast, had me take a shower, and she changed my sheets. She never apologized, and when I confronted her about it as a teen, she only laughed and said I was a bad liar as a kid. The only thing near an explanation I ever got about how hard she was on me was that she went to a psychic when my brother and I were younger. The psychic told her I was a brilliant child but lazy, and she would have to be on me constantly. I guess being hard on you is feeding your guinea pig to a snake. That's just being hard on you. That's just having to be on you constantly. Mm-mm. My mother died in my early 20s, and I have gone 13 years in doing the damage she caused. I am in therapy and am on a long healing journey. She was such a bad parent that she completely damaged my only sibling to the point that I am in no contact with him as of last year. That in itself is a whole other story. I struggle with the fact that she died, and I never got a chance to confront her completely about how she treated me. There are so many other things she would say and do, but I think this is enough for now. If you want more stories, I will submit again in the future. Thank you so much for allowing your followers to submit our stories. I am also thankful because I am embracing the part of myself that has always been interested in witchcraft, and I am finally starting to practice and learn. Hearing your background with your godly mother and seeing you living your truth helped to make me take the step needed, and I feel very happy. Oh, I'm so happy for you. Hey there. I grew up with both my parents on drugs and drinking a lot. Okay, wow, we're just diving right in. When I was 12, my brother, like usual, beat me badly. To be fair to him, we grew up in a violent home, but after he beat me, I cried and knocked on my mom's room door where she was coming down off another binger. She came out swinging all 10 fingers covered in turquoise and silver. Oh my, so she had all these rings on. She also beat me till I was blue. This was just one of many times. I'm 35 now. 2 years ago, my mother went off her rocker and I finally put her in a home. She's 58. I've got so many stories, I don't even know how to write them down. If you want to discuss more, I'm here. I'd even be willing to do a couple videos or something to tell the stories. They are so hard, but I feel like speaking on these matters are so important. I loved this idea. If you guys want to share your stories in video format as well, if you're comfortable with your face being out there, you can do that. Or if you still want to submit it, I can always just play the audio. We don't have to show your face. But if you feel like that would help you express yourself better, sometimes when you're typing, you've got so many thoughts, right? And you're trying to get them and you can't, and then you kind of just burn out. I know I've done that so many times. And I feel like when I'm talking, it's just naturally flows better. So yes, if you guys want to do that, if you want to type it, you can do that too. But this is, I think, a really good idea. So I had said earlier that I would be sharing a story that I came across on Reddit. I was just browsing and I could not believe that there was somebody out there that suffered from such a specific form of child abuse. I consider it child abuse. Maybe I'm being too sensitive or maybe I'm being hyperbolic, but I will read their story and then I will share mine as well. My mom made me use a tanning bed at age 9. As long as I can remember, my mother treated me like I was a doll. She dictated every single one of my decisions, especially when it pertained to my appearance. She forced me to look a certain way at all times, even if doing so was harmful or painful or downright dangerous. As a very young child, I was blonde, but as I got older, my thick hair slowly turned brunette and became wavy. My mother hated this and forced me to start bleaching it when I was around 8, causing it to break off and fall out. Likewise, she would straighten it every single morning before school, causing even more damage. I think she believed that I was too chubby as a little girl because she started making me drink fiber supplements every day that I only recently learned were laxatives. I was constantly sick and in pain and didn't know why. One time she tried to make me wear brown-colored contacts to hide my blue eyes. Worst of all, however, she forced me to tan. I remember it starting at about age 9, but I could have been younger. My mom was disgusted with how naturally pale I looked. She was constantly going to this trashy tanning bed in our small town, and she would, of course, have to take me into the tanning room with her so I wouldn't be left alone in the lobby. One day, though, she whispered for me to take off my clothes and lay in the tanning bed beside her. And then the next day, she did the same. And then the next day, then the next. My pale skin turned practically brown after a while. People at school would comment on it. It never stopped, though, even when I begged for her to stop taking me. As I got older, she started making me go by myself every single day, sometimes having to sit in the tanning bed for 30 minutes at a time. Sometimes when I would get out, my mom would scream at me because she could tell I hadn't gotten in the bed. It was insane. I'm in my mid-20s now, and I have a lot of premature wrinkles. My body is covered with freckles, moles, and sun damage. I will never have beautiful, clear skin again. My mom's narcissism took a lot away from me, but there's something about her prematurely destroying my skin and exposing me to cancer and eye damage as a kid that really takes the cake. So yes, my mother also forced me to tan. I want to say I was probably around 16 years old. My mom was obsessed with tanning. She would force me to go tan with her, like all the time. And at the time, I didn't think it was quite such a big deal, but now I'm like, who forces anyone to tan? She would take me out there and I would have to tan on one side for an hour and then flip over and tan on the other side for an hour. She would never bring sunblock. She would only bring tanning oil. You'd slather that on and you'd be all oiled up and then you would just lay in the sun. And it was miserable. Oh my gosh, I hated it. Now, I am not an outdoorsy person really anyway. I don't mind being outside, but if I'm outside, I want to be shaded. I don't want to be burning alive in the sun. I remember way too many times going out there, specifically the first time I remember because it was so painful. I got so sunburned the first day that we went out there. I'm very naturally fair, you can tell. And she just had me slather some baby oil on and lay in the sun for 2 hours. I was so burnt. Oh my gosh. I was in so much pain. We went back to the room and she was like, oh, you'll be fine. Just take a cold shower and then take some Motrin. I'm like, okay. So I'm thinking that's it, right? Obviously she's not going to make me go back out. No, I was wrong. The next day she's like, well, let's go. I'm like, what? I'm burnt. I'm burnt. It hurts. Just taking a shower felt like knives on my skin. And she was like, oh no, she's like, you'll be fine. That's going to turn into a really nice tan. And she made me oil up and go back out again after I just gotten severely sunburnt. This happened for a few summers and it was all summer. And if we couldn't go to Cottonwood Cove or Lake Mead, she would make me do it in our backyard. And there was no pool. At Cottonwood Cove, you could go get in the water. But when I was forced to tan with her, in the backyard, there was no relief from the sun. There was nothing. You would just have to go inside to get cool. I don't know why she made me do it. And I don't know why I just didn't do it. I guess I just thought, she's my mom. I guess she knows best. I'm going to do this. But yeah, I'll never forget how much pain I was in so many times. And she would make fun of how pale I was and be like, good God, you need some sun. God, you look at your legs. You need some sun on them legs. Oh man. And yeah, now I have a lot of premature sunspots and wrinkles. It does bother me, but I try not to let it get to me too much. It's just the fact that she would make me do something like this. And yes, expose me to premature skin damage and skin cancer. For what? For what reason? I don't know. And you know what? Now I embrace my fair skin. I like it. I never tan. Like if I'm going anywhere, I have my sunblock with me and I use 90. It's 90, right? I've showed you guys before. It's either 70 or 90. That's getting applied every hour, even every half hour if I feel like I need it. It's who I am. I can't change it. And honestly, I don't want to. So, and now ironically enough, my mom will say,
oh, tanning is so bad. You shouldn't do it. It's bad for your skin.
I'm like, you are a fucking nut job, I swear. So that's all for our viewer submissions today. Thank you so much for writing in, and thank you so much for watching. If you would like to hear more stories from our viewers, you can check out the playlist. I'll put it up right here for you on the screen. Until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope that your symptoms are low and your magic is strong. I love you guys. Bye.